Chen Rubin, accused of being Russian propagandists. Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lauren Chen have all been exposed as working for alleged Russian influence operation in a new DOJ indictment. Lauren Chen owns Tenet Media, was on the bullpen several weeks ago. Let's see what's going on here. Well, it's breaking news. Kremlin agents in the U.S. with millions of Twitter followers were paid $10 million by Russia to spread disinformation, rally support for convicted felon Trump on social media per the indictment, which was unsealed by the Department of Justice. Tenet Media, based in Tennessee. So you're just some greedy, according to the Justice Department. It's all about greed. You'll sell out your fellow countrymen, your country, for the love of money. The indictment unsealed on Wednesday accuses a Tennessee-based content company with several high-profile conservative personalities on its roster of being part of a Russian influence operation working to infiltrate United States media with the Kremlin's propaganda. 2 RT employees indicted for covertly funding and directing U.S. company that published thousands of videos in furtherance of Russian interest. Is this the same Russia that invaded Ukraine asking for a friend? Or is it another Russia? I think it's that one.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Here's what we know. The indictment does not identify the company by name, but descriptions in the indictment match those of Tennessee-based Tenet Media, reported the Tennessean. According to a DOJ press release regarding the unsealed indictment Wednesday, 2 Russian nationals, Kostiantyn Kalashnikov, 31, also known as Kostya, and Elena Afanasyeva, 27, also known as Lena. My Russian's not too good, but they got charged, okay? They're indicted. Charged with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA, it's called, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Mediaite, with the details. Kalashnikov and Afanasyeva were employed by RT, formerly known as Russian Today, a Russian state-controlled media outlet, according to the indictment, which describes how RT has launched several covert projects that are designed to shape public opinion in the U.S. and other Western countries, including this alleged funding and direction of a Tennessee-based online content creation company. Indictment goes on to allege that the defendants have deployed nearly $10 million laundered through a network of foreign shell entities to covertly fund and direct that Tennessee company. Indictment alleges that Kalashnikov and Afanasyeva directed the scheme from Moscow using multiple fake identities and shell companies, funneling nearly $10 million to secretly finance and direct the activities of the Tennessee company, which included posting video content on multiple social media platforms that included TikTok, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube, since the company launched in November 2023. Indictment alleges it has posted nearly 2,000 videos that have more than 16 million views just on YouTube alone. The commentators, they've been quick to come to their defense. Tim Pool called himself an alleged victim. We'll see about that. Look at the statement. Should these allegations prove true, I, as well as the other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. Cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to what they do or what they are instructed. Didn't you just speak for other people? That's what it said there. Culture War podcast, licensed by Tenet Media, existed well before any license agreement with Tenet. It'll continue to exist after any such agreement expires. The only change with the agreement was that the location of the live broadcast moved to Tenet's YouTube channel. I and TCW never produced any content for Tenet Media. We'll see. It ends by saying we still do not know what is true, as these are only allegations. Huh. Well, you know what's true. I don't know if what you stated there is true, but you do actually know what's true, and so does RT. and probably Putin, if he's involved intimately, he usually is. Tim Pool. So yes, I've worked with a couple of these money hungry people who don't care about the truth, don't care about grieving families at Sandy Hook, don't care about children being abused, not in a pizza parlor basement. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about families who are affected by autism and just want a cure. They exploit, exploit, exploit because they want that money. What say you about this announcement and the timing?
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite October yet, but this is a hell of a surprise. And I think it will, I think a lot of people on the right are still going to defend these people, the commentators specifically. It'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out as far as, you know, people maybe moving away from that kind of commentary, from people maybe thinking, maybe I need to rethink where the news I'm getting is coming from. We'll see if that happens. We know how inundated the right in particular is, and like this like very Trumpy cultish like behavior. But I actually just covered this story for Rebel HQ, so everybody keep an eye out for that video later. But you know, Sharon, you gave all the headlines and the details. Now we're seeing some of the immediate fallout from this story. We're seeing the posts on social media from some of the people who are involved, you know, people who perhaps are posting a little bit more than they should. Others are not really posting much at all. We just saw that Chen was fired from the Blaze. Last I saw, she hasn't posted anything. Maybe she has now. And the followers of these people are tweeting and truthing all kinds of things. Things like, oh, this is what they're doing now because they're trying to suppress the opposition. This is all Joe Biden's fault and his DOJ.
Ooh,
They're
great
all
pivot.
afraid of Trump. Yeah, this is exactly what we would expect from them. You know, they also say that they're trying to distract from some other story over here, whatever story so-and-so decides it is. And then they'll say, you know, they're reiterating their support for all of these commentators. But this is such an interesting story to me, not just for the obvious readings, but because the people involved, people like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool, who have made all sorts of pro-Russian statements on their shows, are now saying, as you mentioned, that they're victims of this Russian scheme. And to be fair, according to the probe, the commentators were unaware of where their company's funding was coming from, but the founders, Chen and her husband, they did know, and they did make efforts to conceal the source of their funding. But even if the commentators really didn't know where their money was coming from, their talking points were also coming from Russia. So didn't they stop and think about the things that they were saying and promoting to their audience of millions of American people? The whole point of this scheme in the first place was to sway American support from Ukraine to Russia. And this is obviously in light of the Russian invasion into Ukraine. And all of these people, all of these commentators were complicit in helping Russia to do that. And the talking points they were pushing were kind of silly. You know, they would say all kinds of things like, oh, Ukraine isn't that great. Ukraine doesn't deserve this or that. You know, you were spending too much money here. It's just going to make a bigger war. But there's already a war happening. There's already an invasion happening, right? Like this is already what's going on. And it would always kind of gloss over that point. So I always thought that was interesting. Now they're pushing back saying, like Tim Pool was like, you know, most of the time we don't even talk about politics on the show. We talk about video games and other stuff and spirituality, dating, that kind of thing. But there's so many clips of him discussing specifically the war in Ukraine, and he always takes a pro-Russia bent on it. So we'll see what the fallout from this is going to be. I worry that the news cycle is just going to kind of move on, but you really, as you know, Sharon, you and I do this kind of work for a living. And I know that we do here at TYT, especially, we do our best to really just kind of vet the information that we have, to understand it, to put it into context for our viewers. And we have, you know, kind of a checks and balances system here too, where we hold each other accountable whenever they say things. We don't agree all the time with the things that our colleagues say, or maybe the way that they say them, but at the very least, I can tell you that I believe that my colleagues believe the things that they're saying, right? Sure. That they have a basis for where they're coming from, right? That we all have different perspectives and things like that. But over at Tenet Media, I don't know if that was happening. There was an incident that was mentioned in the probe where one of the producers pushed back whenever they wanted to push out the video of Tucker Carlson when he was in that grocery store in Russia, and he was going on about how low the prices were. Yeah, so there was a Discord chat between, I think it was Lauren, Chen, and this producer, and he was like, it feels like overt shilling. That's what he said of
Mhm.
Russia. And the founder was like, no, go ahead and push it forward. And so that video of Tucker Carlson went viral. And it was all part of, there literally were overtly shilling Russian propaganda to the American people.
Yeah, and so we got to wait for this thing to play out. They are
Mhm.
just allegations. That's what an indictment is. But you're once again my hero because you pointed out the talking points. You're hired to be a commentator because you have intelligent, bold, perhaps reasoned things to say. You state a position and back it up. You can't then claim ignorant, dippy or something, kind of dumb. I didn't know. Well, you just happen to be delivering the talking points. Get out of here with that. I find it very interesting. We'll continue to follow it. We'll move on though. We'll take a break because when we come back, we got a lot to expose. At least a former aide of a governor has a lot that they've been exposed for.